Many Christians have found the doctrine of the Trinity difficult to comprehend. However, there's a simple analogy that we can use to help us understand it. We begin by asking, how many Bibles are on this table? Well, in one sense, there's only one Bible. God only gave us one revelation. But in another sense, we have here three different manuscripts. What we have is one text existing here on this table in three manuscripts. These manuscripts are absolutely identical to one another as far as the text is concerned, and yet they can stand in a relationship to one another. This manuscript is not the same as that manuscript or as that manuscript. In a similar way, with the doctrine of the Trinity, we have one God existing in three persons. We have one being, one nature, one essence, that nevertheless is possessed by three persons, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. The Father is not the same person as the Son, and the Son is not the same person as the Spirit, even though all three of them are identical in nature and essence. Some people have argued that because Jesus depends on his Father, submits to his Father in his earthly ministry, that therefore he is not equal in essence to his Father. This illustration also helps us to see why this is not the case. We can use an example from C.S. Lewis in Mere Christianity and actually put these books into a relationship of dependence on one another. Now we have three books that are all absolutely equal to one another in every way, yet are in a relationship of dependence. The second book is dependent on the first book, and the third book is dependent on the second book and the first book. In the same way, the Son lovingly submits to his Father, even though he's identical in nature to him. Likewise, the Spirit submits to the Son and the Father, even though he's identical in nature to them. Furthermore, we can use this analogy to help explain verses like John 1:18. John 1:18 says, "No one has ever seen God, but the only Son, who is God in the bosom of the Father, has revealed him." If I were to remove this book from the table and say, no one has ever seen this book, could we know the contents of that text? Yes, we could if we look at this book, because the text of the two books is identical. This is also what Jesus means in John 14 when he says, "Anyone who has seen me has seen the Father." He is not claiming that he is the same person as the Father, but he is claiming that anyone who sees him sees God, because he shares a nature with his Father. In the same way, anyone who has seen this book has seen that book, although that doesn't mean that they are the same manuscript. This example also avoids the pitfall of tritheism. If I had taken a Bible and I had put it on a table with a Quran and a Book of Mormon, and it said, here we have three books that all share the nature of a religious text, that would be an example of tritheism because they're not the same text. But here, again, we have one text existing in three manuscripts. The only way that we could make this example tighter would be if I could take this book and this book and this book and phase them all together so that they occupy the same identical space, but nevertheless remain three distinct books. That would be an even tighter example for the Trinity, because the members of the Trinity mutually indwell one another. So far from being difficult to understand, incomprehensible, or even irrational, there is a simple analogy that can help us to understand the doctrine of the Trinity.